Let me tell you something about leadership that nobody's going to tell you, especially when it comes to leadership identity. You are not struggling because you lack skill. You struggle because you have a belief system or you're operating from a belief system that was instilled in you prior to you actually becoming a leader. And here's how we know. Think about how most people in leadership are trained. They're told to work harder. They're told to perform better. They're told to remain agreeable. They're told things that impact who they are as a leader, yes, but because you've done those pieces and you're not seeing the results because you don't have a strategy, you're not seeing those results, your confidence begins to drop. Now, when you talk about being agreeable, proving who you are, your authority, those particular belief systems work when you were an individual contributor. Now you have to lead a team. Now you have to be a huge team player. And so now you don't have to prove to yourself anything, but what you do have to continue to do is understand how the belief system needs to be adjusted as you go higher in your leadership. Keep in mind, belief in leadership operates in a completely different psychology. So if you're in a boardroom and you feel like you have to prove yourself, you will constantly over explain. If you are in a meeting and you feel like you have to provide more insight, you will constantly justify. If you believe that being liked keeps you safe, then you will compromise on your core values. If you believe that hard work equals authority, then you will continue to leak leadership credibility. So, what I'm trying to help you to appreciate is that at this very moment, it is your belief system that needs to be adjusted, not necessarily your skills. When your leadership identity is misaligned, that means that every other pillar that I teach you begins to break. So your executive presence begins to have a challenge because you're managing perception. Once you begin to manage perception, you're so focused on that that you can't have a strategy, which means your leadership influence begins to break down. And because your leadership influence breaks down, you cannot begin to scale your leadership, which is how you're going to execute in the role that you're in. So, this is why leaders feel stuck, not because of skills, not because you're not capable, but because your belief system is stuck in the last two roles and you're now in leadership and you need a strategy. Your belief system was never upgraded. And so, when leaders work with me, that is the first thing we do. We look at your leadership identity, which is who you are as a leader and why you're continuing to negotiate your core values in order to fit the status quo in corporate America. And when that belief system begins to shift, that's when your communication is clear, your team responds differently, your executive presence begins to stabilize. If you want more, then the executive identity audit is where we diagnose exactly where you're leaking your confidence, but also reshaping your leadership identity. Don't get waitlisted. Like, comment, and follow. The masterclass is here, but the executive leadership audit is what you really want. Happy leading.